Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today, we have accelerated programs in the house. We're going to have presenting today Kiana Lane. She is the supervisor for accelerated programs, along with her co-host, Sharon Alonzo, coordinator of accelerated program. We're excited to have you, ladies. And so with that, take it away, ladies.
Absolutely. Thank you, Angela. Good afternoon, everyone. As Angela mentioned, my name is Kiana Lane, and I am the supervisor of accelerated programs. And joining me, I have the beautiful, lovely Sharon Alonzo, who is a coordinator of accelerated programs. Together, we're going to be your team that's going to be talking to you today about the PSAT, nmsqt, and Khan Academy. So here in accelerated programs, these are actually, I guess, it's two of the many things that fall under our umbrella, all of which are near and dear to us. But as we are making our way through this presentation, if you have anything else that comes to mind that relates to accelerated programs, please feel free to drop it in the chat. We will be saving some time at the end of our presentation today to answer all questions. So under our umbrella, in addition to the PSAT, we have the SAT, the ACT, advanced placement, pre-advanced placement, ACE, dual enrollment, and I think that's everything. Did I miss something, Sharon? AP Capstone? AVID, yes, AVID, all those great things. So today's focus is going to be on that PSAT nmsqt. So here's how we're going to spend our time today, this afternoon. So welcome. Thank you all for joining us. We do believe that this will be beneficial for you and your families. And again, I think that very critical component is going to be that opportunity to get all your questions answered. But beyond the welcome, we're going to start talking about the SAT suite of assessment. We will transition into the PSAT 8-9, as well as the PSAT nmsqt. We're going to talk about Khan Academy and how it can support your student in both of those college readiness assessments, as well as for the SAT. And then we're going to provide you all with some resources, some places that you can visit for some additional information. So just a few fun facts about the SAT. We thought, what better way to set the tone than to really talk about what the goal is ultimately with the PSAT, and that's to get your students to a point where they can be successful on that SAT. So that SAT is accepted by every college in the United States. We know that 2 of 3 students raise their score when they retake the SAT or they take the SAT more than once. Students who take the PSAT, which again is our focus for today, historically have higher scores on average than those students who do not have that opportunity. The SAT practice on Khan it's free, it's personalized. We're going to talk about that in depth. And just a little fun fact, there's no penalty for guessing on the PSAT or the SAT. So when we talk about the PSAT and the PSAT 8-9, and the PSAT nmsqt, it's important to know that they are just 2 pieces of a greater puzzle. So that being a part of the SAT suite of assessment. So nationwide, this is what it looks like. Students have an opportunity to take the PSAT 8-9, and that's going to set the baseline for college readiness. It gives us as educators an opportunity to know where those students currently stand as it relates to are they college ready or not. After taking the PSAT 8-9, they will have an opportunity to take the PSAT nmsqt 10, and that's going to be our check-in. So now that we have a baseline for students, we're going to check to see how they are progressing. And then finally, the last exam in that suite of assessment is the SAT, and that's the one that will connect the students to the colleges. So here in Hillsborough County, we I guess we do things our own way, right? But we know what works best for our students. So at the very bottom of the slide, you're going to see our model for the PSAT 8-9 nmsqt and SAT. So in the fall, all of our 8th grade students will sit for the PSAT 8-9. That actually took place a couple of weeks ago. So on October 13th, every 8th grader in Hillsborough County Public Schools had an opportunity to take the PSAT 9. And again, That is the test that we utilize as the student's baseline for college readiness. On that same day, October 13th, our 9th and 10th grade students were sitting for the PSAT nmsqt. So again, those are checkpoints. So we start that baseline here in Hillsborough County in 8th grade. We check in with our students on 9th grade to see how they're progressing. We check in again with them in 10th grade to see how they're progressing. Believe it or not, we check in again with them in 11th grade to see how they're progressing. But the difference between the 9 and 10 and the 11th grade is that the 11th grade is the qualifying year for the National Merit Scholarship. So when the students sit for that exam in their 11th grade year, in addition to it being that checkpoint for us, it does qualify them for additional scholarship opportunities. In 11th grade, we also give our students a first shot at their SAT, and that is historically done in the spring. For this school year, those students will be taking that test on March 2nd. We will have our district-wide SAT school day. So every 11th grader in Hillsborough County Public Schools will have an opportunity to take that assessment for free. And I should mention that actually all of the assessments that we give our students are free, which is, you know, that's awesome. I mean, an opportunity for our kids to not only get a baseline, have some checkpoints, but as well as sit for that SAT, which is going to connect them to college, all for free. As 12th grade students, we do offer some opportunities for the students to take the SAT, but those are historically reserved for our 12th grade students who have not met the concordant score that they need for graduation. So we provide them what's called the SAT NCR, also known as the SAT Non-College Reportable. It's an extended test, which allows them an opportunity to potentially earn the concordant or comparative score that they need for graduation. So using that PSAT 8-9 and PSAT nmsqt scores to increase college and career readiness. So here's some key facts about the PSAT 8-9 and the nmsqt. Each of the tests, all of the tests, I should say. So thinking back to the suite of assessment, whether it's the 8-9 or the nmsqt, they're all going to test the same academic skills, but they're going to be skills that are in line with where that student currently should be as either a 9th grader, an 8th grader, a 10th grader, or an 11th grader. So there are 3 basic skills that are tested in each of these college readiness assessments: the reading, the writing, and the language, as well as the math. The scores are on a vertical scale. So if your student likely scores a certain score on the 8-9, that would correlate to an SAT score. So it really gives us as educators an opportunity to see what areas are of focus for our students as it relates to making sure that we are getting them to a point where they are college ready and where their strengths are. But it's really nice to note that all of these exams in the suite of assessment are on a common vertical scale. And they do test, as I mentioned, the same knowledge and the same skills from one test to the other. So here is just an overview of how that PSAT 8-9 and that PSAT nmsqt connect to the SAT. So as I mentioned, they are in alignment. So if you take a look at the graph, you can see at the very top that an SAT score ranges from a 200 to an 800. You can kind of see where that PSAT nmsqt overlaps with that SAT score, it being from a 160 to a 760. And then that baseline test, that PSAT 8-9, you can see where there's some overlap in that as well, that score being from the 120 to 720. All right, so some additional information as well. So you can, in addition to seeing where the overlap is, you can see the dotted lines and the arrow. So that's going to show you where the grade level benchmark will indicate is the target progress towards the SAT benchmark. So that was a lot. So let me try that again. So the arrows that you see, essentially, that is letting us know where the students are as it relates to being on level. So student scores that they get in that PSAT or nmsqt are the same score that they would have gotten if they would have taken the SAT on that very same day.
So now that Kiana has introduced to us the entire SAT suite of assessments and gave you facts about all of the assessments in general, we are going to break it down by each one specifically so that if you have an 8th grade student, you can specifically focus on the details for the PSAT 8-9. Or if you have a 9th, 10th, or 11th grade student, you can focus on the facts for the nmsqt, which I'll go over next. So first, let's talk about the PSAT 8-9 so that you can learn a little bit more about this specific assessment. So like Kiana said, it is offered free to all of our 8th grade students here in Hillsborough County Public Schools. It did take place on October 13th. We'll talk about how you'll be able to locate your student scores a little later in the presentation. The test length is about 2 hours and 25 minutes total. And like she mentioned earlier, there's no penalty for guessing or blank responses, and that's also known as rights-only scoring. So something to keep in mind when you're talking to your students about these types of assessments, that it really is okay for them to guess and that there's not a penalty for that. Some of the benefits of the PSAT 8-9 are that it establishes that baseline measurement of college and career readiness. It really lets you as the parent know and us as the teachers know where they stand on that articulation. It tests the same skills and knowledge as the SAT and the nmsqt in a way that makes sense for each grade level. It gives that comprehensive feedback on test performance, and it also allows students and parents to know which academic skills they should work to improve, whether that be the math, the reading, or the writing. Additionally, students are provided information on majors and career exploration with a few College Board resources that we are going to touch on a little later in the presentation. A little bit more detail into understanding how the PSAT 8-9 is scored. It is rights-only scoring, so that's 1 point for each correct answer. No points are deducted for incorrect answered or unanswered questions. In the math student-produced responses, it's important for students to understand that they enter their answers as reduced fractions or decimals, and if they are rounding a decimal, make sure they know to enter as many characters as allowed. And I'm sure some of these things are things that their math teachers go over with them prior to their assessments. And then a little bit more about that graph that Kiana showed you. For each section, meaning reading, math, writing, and language, there is a scale. So for the PSAT 8-9, which is for our 8th graders, for each section, it goes from a 120 to a 720. And then the total would be from a 240 to a 1440. So that 1440 would be that perfect score on a PSAT 8-9. You'll notice that those numbers are going to shift a little bit for each additional assessment after that one. Now to focus on the nmsqt. So they are both PSAT tests. The 8-9 is for our 8th graders, and the nmsqt is for our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. Like Kiana mentioned, for those 11th graders, this is that first year that they can begin qualifying for that National Merit Scholarship qualifying test. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. So this assessment provides a check-in on college readiness before the students take the SAT, which is why we provide them as many options or opportunities as possible prior to them taking that SAT. It is offered free of charge to all of our 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students in Hillsborough County. It is 2 hours and 45 minutes, so just a little bit longer than the 8th grade test. And again, no points are deducted for incorrect answered or unanswered questions. Here are some key facts about this particular assessment. It propels students towards college and career readiness. It is co-sponsored by the College Board and the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. It's that qualifying test for entry into that scholarship program, and we have a website to give you at the end for more information about that. And it serves as an entry point to over $300 million in additional scholarships. That fact here on the left really is an interesting one. 3.8+ million students take this assessment each year to get feedback on their skills, qualify for scholarships, and practice for the SAT. So you see how widely used this assessment is to benefit our students. Here's some additional benefits of the nmsqt. It will provide them free personalized SAT practice on Khan Academy based on students' answers. And we are going to tell you more about Khan Academy and how to get your students linked into that. It is aligned to that SAT. Historically, there's research that shows students who took the PSAT nmsqt scored higher on the SAT on average than students who didn't take that. Like I've said, it is that entry to the National Merit Scholarship Program. And then once again, it will provide them some additional resources. There's an online college and career planning tool called Big Future. There is a career exploration tool called Road Trip Nation. And then there's lots of information about financial aid to help students pay for college if needed. Here are a little bit more details about how this particular assessment is scored. So once again, it does have that rights only scoring, no points deducted for incorrect or unanswered. The math student produced responses are basically entered the same way for students. And those scale scores are slightly different from the test that they take in 8th grade, where each section goes out to 760 and 1520 is the highest total score. So I know this is probably the question that's on your mind right now. If you have just figured out that your students took this assessment on October 13th, and you want to know where and how and when will I be able to see their scores. So this is how it works. All of our students from 8th grade up will need a College Board student account. So some students have probably already created these accounts through school in some of their classes, if they're in AP classes or pre-AP classes, or they've taken this assessment before, they might already have a College Board account. So you need to talk to your student. You need to figure out if they've already created a student College Board account. If not, you can have them go to this website and create their own. Please know, parents, that we need the student to create the account. It cannot be created with your email. It needs to be created with a student email, and it's going to be an account that students are going to access throughout their entire high school career in many different instances. This is how they're going to get to Khan Academy. This is how they're going to get to Road Trip Nation and all of those great resources that will help prepare them for the future. So know that you can have a conversation with your student, see if they've already created a College Board account. If they haven't, you can have them do that. Just make sure they're putting in their student information and their email address. So once they log into their student account on College Board, they will be able to select My Score Reports to access those PSAT scores. Now, we've been told that they will probably be released mid-December. So if you go there right now, you are not going to see them. They just took the assessment a few weeks ago. So just know mid-December is when we're expecting those scores to be released. And this is how you would be able to access them. I have put an email address and a phone number on the screen. If you want to take a snapshot of this screen, just know that in December, once you guys log in and for some reason you're not able to locate them, they do have support that will help you and your student make sure that you can find those scores. So there is an email address and a phone number for you to use when that time comes. Next, I'm going to talk about the resource called Khan Academy. This is really going to help our students in Hillsborough County really give them the opportunity for that personalized practice for the SAT. Here's a little bit more information about Khan Academy and its partnership with College Board. So we're excited that you're helping your child find the best practice available for the SAT and the PSAT NMSQT. With official SAT practice, students will get 100% free personalized practice through this partnership between Khan Academy and the College Board. And those are the makers of the SAT. So really, this is the best possible scenario for practice. So on Khan Academy, you'll see that your student will get a personalized plan that's tailored to their strengths and weaknesses based on their previous assessment scores. It gives them thousands of practice questions, hints, video lessons, test-taking tips and strategies. There are practice tests that they can either take online or on paper. They receive instant feedback and adaptive recommendations for what to practice based on how they're doing in the program. And they can review expert tips and strategies for the test. So really lots of great opportunities for students through Khan Academy and College Board to prepare them for their upcoming assessment, regardless of what grade level they are in. Interesting fact, our research suggests that 3 best practices associated with substantial improvements in SAT scores include leveling up your skills, taking a full-length practice test, which is available on Khan Academy, and really following that personalized practice recommendation and plan that's provided for you in this portal. So students who used this official SAT practice for 6 or more hours and followed at least one best practice has shown to score 39 points more from PSAT nmsqt to the first SAT than students who did not do this practice. So how do you get your students linked and logged into Khan Academy? So in order to get these personalized recommendations, the students do have to follow the steps you see on the screen to connect their College Board accounts that I mentioned previously. That's where they would see their scores. And they have to then link that account to their Khan Academy account. So once again, this is a really great screen to possibly take a picture of, or at least write down satpractice.org for that information. But basically, students would go to satpractice.org. They would create their account on Khan Academy, or if they've already created one at some point, they would sign into it. When prompted, they would agree to link their Khan Academy account to their College Board account, and then they would log into their College Board account and they press send, and then they're given a personalized practice plan. If you need assistance with any of these steps, you can reach out to your site-based guidance counselors, administrators, or teachers. And if they're not sure how to do it, they can reach out to us in Accelerated Programs, and we can make sure that you guys are ready and prepared to make these steps happen. Once students have linked those 2 accounts, this is an example of what the student might see in Khan Academy. So you'll notice that they have their test scores displayed on the screen, what their total was, what they got in each section or content area, and then it allows them to choose which skills they'd like to practice that day. And then once again, once those accounts are linked, Khan Academy will provide a personalized plan for students in addition to those practice assessments, the videos, the lessons, the tutorials, all within this same platform. Some of those additional resources that I mentioned that students will have access to once they have College Board accounts, one of them is Big Future. So this is a really great website that helps students plan for college. It's a free, comprehensive website that guides students as they prepare for, find, and enroll in college. So they're able to start with their personal interests. They can start with a location of a college. They can start with a topic or a major. There's lots of different ways they can explore different colleges through Big Future. They can compare colleges on factors ranging from majors to size to location. They can watch videos from real students who explain what they did to get in college. They can hear from educational professionals who provide the inside story on how to get into college, learn about different kinds of colleges, And finally, really find valuable help in paying for college by discovering what goes into paying for college and how to find financing. So great resource here for your students and you as well. The next one that I mentioned was Road Trip Nation. This is a career exploration tool that can help students learn more about their interests and how this may correspond to a future career. Road Trip Nation and College Board have partnered to build Career Finder. It's an exploration tool that helps students make more informed academic and career decisions based on what truly drives them. It lets them explore careers aligned to their interests and start planning small steps today to help build their future plan. Kiana is going to take back over and talk about some of the resources.
Thank you, Sharon. So just closing us out here and really just reiterating some of the resources that Sharon has already mentioned. I definitely want to encourage you all to snap a picture. We'll leave it up for a while just so that you can go back to it and you'll know what these email addresses are. But here's the first resource, and that's the psat.org/scholarship. So at this particular website, you're going to find a ton of different scholarship opportunities, most of which we have already mentioned, that national merit, which we'll go into a little bit more detail. But if you are new to all of this and you just want to explore everything that is out there, I would definitely say that this is the starting point. So it's going to provide you with the scholarship of partners and the programs that are available through the College Board. So that National Merit Scholarship Program that you've heard us reference several times throughout this presentation, that is the website for more information regarding it. That particular program, that scholarship program, is tied directly to the PSAT nmsqt. So again, based on how your 11th grade student scores on that exam, it will determine whether or not they qualify for that National Merit Scholarship program. And there's several different levels, I guess, of qualification. Typically, nationwide, they take in about 50,000 students initially, and then they will take a look at those 50,000 students solely based on their test scores, and then they will decide which of those students are they going to identify as commended students. And that's a great accolade. It may just be a little postcard saying, hey, congratulations, you're a commended student, but it's definitely something that is a bragging right, something that your student can add to their resume and push out to those colleges that they are interested in. From that list, they typically narrow it down to 16,000 students as semi-finalists, and then down to 15,000 students as finalists. Those finalists have not only an option to receive a financial scholarship through National Merit, they also have corporate sponsors that reach out to those students and provide scholarships, as well as college sponsors that reach out and provide those students scholarships. So that National Merit Scholarship program is one that carries a lot of weight. And we definitely encourage our students to take the PSAT, starting with the 8-9 seriously, right? So that we know how can we support them and move them along in the right direction so that they can take it their 9th grade year and get more practice, 10th grade year, and then that 11th grade year in hopes that they are not only gaining the skills that are necessary to reach that college readiness benchmark, but that also they're potentially eligible to receive that National Merit Scholarship. So another one that I would definitely snap a picture of as well. Student search. So student search, this one is huge. It's one that we hear about, I guess, on the positive end as well as the negative end. I'll start by saying that your student would have to opt into student search in order for them to be a participant. So there are a lot of advantages to student search. Once the student opt in, and again, it's a choice that they're making, they are basically expressing that they're interested in going to college. And what the College Board does is they link your student with schools that match their interest, that match their qualifications in terms of college acceptance. And your students will start to hear from those colleges. They'll hear from the colleges. They may be targeted for certain scholarships based on their test scores, based on their GPAs. We have about 5.6 million students that participate in Student Search nationwide. There's over 1,500 colleges and universities that are connected in Student Search that your student potentially could hear from. And they award over $300 million in scholarship as well. So another great resource for you to be aware of. Again, it does require for your student to opt in, but once they've opted in, College Board will, on their behalf, get their information out there, and they'll start hearing from colleges and universities that they potentially are matched with. And then the final resource that I would encourage you all to take a picture of is that khanacademy.org/SAT. So Sharon did a phenomenal job of describing what that is and why that is and the benefits of Khan Academy. But this is where you would locate Khan Academy so that your student can get their Khan linked to College Board and get their personal plan started for practice in hopes that we can improve their PSAT and their SAT. All right, so that is all that we have, and we've got a lot of time to spare for questions. So at this time, we are going to open the floor for questions. I know that Angela told us that she was going to hold us down and field all those questions in the chat. So Angela, we will take those questions at this time.
All right, we have several questions, so I love them. Okay, so it says, hello, my kid is in charter school in Hillsborough County, and they don't have an opportunity to take the 8-9 test. Can you please guide us if there is a way that they can get the paper to go through with their kid at home? Thank you.
Cool. So my recommendation would be to contact the charter office. Unfortunately, we here in Hillsborough County, we have our own contract with the College Board. So we are able to provide those opportunities to the students who are in our traditional brick and mortar schools, as well as our Hillsborough virtual schools. But we don't, unfortunately, have any insight into the charter schools and if they have contracts with College Board or lack thereof. So I would recommend reaching out to the school site, the administration at the school site, and seeing what your options are, as well as potentially the charter office.
All right, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
They said, is there a test booklet used by the student during the PSAT return back to them on the test day or later? In prior years, their student got it back. So is the test book that they use during the PSAT returned?
No, not to my knowledge. The test books are not returned. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and say a hard no. We do hold those for security purposes, and that it's a requirement by the College Board for an extended period of time before we are able to securely discard those. It's possible that the parent may be referencing a practice test. In years past, we would make practice tests available hard copy. We have since transitioned to pretty much everything electronic, including that practice test. So in years past, when the student would bring home the hard copy practice test, they would have an opportunity to work through some of those problems. It wouldn't be uncommon, if the teacher took some time out of the day and they spent some time working through some of those problems. So that could potentially be what the family is referencing in that question. But the College Board actual tests are secure documents, and those are not released.
Thank you for that. This is in regards to the Khan Academy account. Does a student need to use the hcps.net email address, or can they use their Gmail account?
So that is a great question. I'm going to let Sharon speak to that.
I'm going to actually throw it back to you, Kiana, because I'm not sure.
So in full transparency, my recommendation would be to use your Hillsborough County account, only because, we do a lot of work here in our department with trying to link students and teachers and getting teachers access and all of that great stuff. So when we go out, we do a standard, because the kids, you guys, believe it or not, they forget what email address they use, they forget what password they put in. So in effort to keep it consistent, if we are supporting schools and students with getting connected, we would recommend that they use their Hillsborough County email address, as well as a standard password that they can remember, or if that they don't remember, we'll be able to help them remember.
Okay, so this is in regards to that. They didn't know that the College Board had to be the child's email address. This parent made the account with the parent's email. So how can that be fixed?
I would like to think that if you log on, so I'm going to think from a professional standpoint. I know that we link a lot of teachers to the College Board, and we ourselves are linked to the College Board. And there is always the option to update your contact information. So I would encourage the parent to go in and log in as them, with their email address, the password that they've created. And I would simply just update the contact information to reflect the student's email address.
That makes sense. All right. Thank you for that. So my daughter received a comparative score on the math portion of the PSAT last year in 9th grade. She didn't take the Algebra 1 Honors EOC in 8th grade due to COVID. Her report card now shows that she has met the Algebra 1 EOC requirement with her PSAT math score. Is there anything else that needs to be done in addition to that?
So for the graduation benchmark purposes, no. So, and that's one of the beautiful things. Thank you, whoever, brought that question up, because I don't think we touched on that. We talk about the comparative score, and I think I mentioned it for 12th graders, but the students do have an opportunity to earn that comparative score in Algebra 1 as early as 9th grade. That's also one of the reasons why we here in Hillsborough County give our 9th graders that PSAT nmsqt, because they don't have that same opportunity on the PSAT 8-9. So that just filled my heart. Thank you so much for sharing that. So yes, our students are taking the PSAT nmsqt, which can potentially earn them that comparative score as early as 9th grade. So they will be good as it relates to that particular benchmark if they've met that comparative score as early as 9th grade.
Thank you for that. And if you would please talk a little bit about comparative score, because parents may not know what comparative scores mean.
Absolutely. So our students have benchmarks. I don't even think that's the latest term that we're using, right? But our students have requirements that they must meet in order to graduate. One is a reading proficiency requirement. One is a math proficiency requirement. So that math proficiency requirement for the state of Florida graduation is traditionally earned by passing the Algebra 1 end of course examination. We know that we have students who take the Algebra 1 course and they will pass it, and for some reasons they may not attain that passing score on the end of course examination. If that is the case for a student, then they are required essentially to earn a comparative score. So there are other tests that they can take in lieu of that Algebra 1 to show that they are proficient enough for graduation. And in the case of Algebra 1, the PSAT nmsqt is one of those tests that the students can take. And if their math score is high enough, or it shows proficiency in terms of a graduation requirement, then they will meet that benchmark requirement in lieu of taking that and passing that Algebra 1. The same goes for English. So historically, our students earn their English proficiency grade by taking the FSA, the ELA FSA. However, all of our students are, they're not always successful the first time on that. So we give them additional opportunities to meet that requirement through the PSAT, through the SAT as well. So when we talk about the SAT NCR, and I mentioned that it was for the 12th grade students who had not met that graduation benchmark, those students are sitting for those tests with the opportunity to potentially get that comparative score in either algebra or ELA.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And that's the same with the ACT. So here in Hillsborough County, we do provide the ACT, but it's strictly for those 11th and 12th grade students who are still trying to earn that comparative score for graduation.
All right. So the question is, do we have to register initially to Khan, and is it the same login information as their email? What's the process to register for Khan?
So there's two separate kind of portals or platforms that they would then be linking together because it's a partnership between the two. And then that would give them the personalized plan. So two steps that students need to take. The first one is to create a College Board student account that will give them access to their scores. The second step is to create a Khan Academy account. So for both of those, the student is creating an account in two separate platforms. We want them to use that HCPS email for both, just because it'll be easier for them to remember, and some standard kind of simple password and write it down somewhere. And then through Khan Academy, there's going to be a place where they press send, and it's basically allowing the Khan Academy account and the College Board accounts to link with their personal information so that they're then provided that personalized practice. Anybody can get on Khan Academy and see resources, but if they want to see the personalized resources that are based on their assessment scores, they've got to have accounts in both places and then follow those steps to link them together. Hopefully that answers their question.
All right. Thank you for that, Ms. Alonzo. All right. So here's another question. Is there a limit to how many times a student can take the PSAT 8/9? My child already took it once through Duke Talent Search Program. She is now in 6th grade. Should she link those scores to Khan Academy?
So I will speak to the limit. There is not a limit per se, but the students can take it once. The PSAT is only offered once a year. That's just the way that it is, and it's a nationwide date. So if her student had an opportunity to take it in 6th, that's awesome. My kid was, I think, was 7th grade. She was linked with Duke Tip, and she took the SAT as a 7th grader. They will again have that opportunity here through us, through our school district, to take that PSAT as an 8th grader for 8, 9, and 9, 10, and 11th grader, the nmsqt. But it is, again, it's only offered once a year. The SAT is a little bit different because obviously the SAT is offered multiple times, and families can choose to take the SAT as many times as they would like on their own. As a district, we provide that opportunity to our juniors once in the spring. And then our seniors, as I mentioned prior, that have not met that or are in need of that comparative score, both their fall and spring of their senior year.
And as far as getting their scores and linking to Khan Academy, they can do that at this time, but I will tell you that if they are under the age of 13, for College Board, there are some additional steps for the parent to take in order to give them permission or access to create that College Board account. So if your child is under 13, I would just go to collegeboard.org, set up their student account, and once they verify their age, there's probably going to be additional steps for the parent to take in order for that student to get a College Board account, and then they can go through the steps to create the Khan Academy and link their scores.
Thank you. We have a question about choosing the test to take in 12th grade. Can they choose between the SAT or the ACT in 12th grade, or can they take both? Like, what are the rules for that?
When we get to 12th grade, particularly, our goal is really to make sure that we are providing that students as many opportunities as they can to get their high school diploma. And the last thing that we want is for a student to have all 24 of their credits and they're rocking and rolling and they weren't the best test taker, and for whatever reason they don't have the comparative scores that are also graduation requirements. So by the time we get to 12th grade, we offer that both that ACT, it's actually offered once a semester, the non-college reportable ACT. And when I say non-college reportable, I mean that there's no time limit on that test because we want to give them as much opportunity as they need in order to be successful in terms of meeting that comparative score. And with it also being non-college reportable, those scores are not eligible to be sent to a college or university. And we do that same for SAT. Actually, we do it a few more times for SAT. So I can speak just specifically to this year. For this cohort of seniors, they're going to have 6 opportunities between the ACT and the SAT to get that comparative score. So it's not a situation where they can choose one or the other. They can sit for all 6, right? Because we know that some students are going to do better on the ACT than they would on the SAT and vice versa. And as many opportunities that we can give our kids to help get them across the stage, we will. So all 6 are an option and are open and available to our seniors.
Awesome, awesome. A parent is asking, how can they find out if their 10th grader has an HCPS email and what would it be? And then, so I guess this would be a follow-up to that. And how do the students check their email? What website do they go to do that?
So we are not the tech crew.
It's been a long time since I've dealt with that.
Unfortunately.
I think they can reach out to their school because
yes.
I think all of the teachers have, they may not have the password to their child's email address, but they do have the username and they can just do the forgot password and go through that.
And honestly, Angela, thinking about seeing my own child log into thing, I believe it's their student number at HC, at the Hillsborough County Public School.net. That's what I believe it is.
And is it on the hub on the website? They can get to it through our main HCPS website. And then where it says staff and parent hub, because I believe the parents have one too. I'm not gonna, don't quote me on that, but because it says, when I go on there, it says staff hub and it says for parents and students. So if you go to our regular Hillsborough County Public Schools main website page, if you scroll down, I don't know, Sharon, if you could do that and show them where that is. I don't know how that works.
I'm not sure. I don't want to provide any misinformation. But we'll see. We'll try it
Dr.
out.
Lewis may know. I know she's a member of the staff, but I believe and Dr. Leniger, she might know as well. They have students here in Hillsborough County that log into their email addresses. Can you all help that parent with how to log in to their student account, or how the student can log into their student account? Sorry, my youngest is 26. Dr. Lewis, or I'm not sure. Gotta check here. Hang tight, parents.
Are there any other questions that we could potentially answer while we're waiting on?
Yeah, here's one that just came up. PSAT can only be taken officially once a year. That's a question. And for the 6 times 12th graders can take the ACT and SAT, only the best score would be taken or recorded. Only the best score will be recorded.
Well, those are great questions. So yes, just to confirm, the PSAT is a nationwide date that happens in the fall, every fall, once a year. We just had that on 10/13. That was the nationwide date. And in reference to the SAT and ACT. So those 12th graders, that's reserved exclusively for those 12th graders who have not met the concordant score for, or they don't have the score for graduation, right? So as soon as they take that exam and they earn that score that we need for them to earn, that will serve as that comparative score for their graduation requirement, they wouldn't take anymore. So it's not a matter of the highest. We are looking for a certain number, and that particular number will indicate that they are proficient enough according to the state of Florida to be presented with a high school diploma. I hope that answers the question. Is that
All right,
good,
and so
Ann?
I think so, yes. Yes, somebody said yes, thank you. So I think there was a parent who put that the student number at hcps.net, it would be their login, and then their password for their for the email would be the same one that they use for Canvas, or if they use the same one for ESB in the past. I know it used to be a unique, they required the students a couple years back, they required the students to make unique passwords because it used to be like their birthday or something like that, but people were accessing other people's accounts. So I think they were made to be unique. But Mercedes put in the chat the web page where it's the Canvas. And I believe it is their student number at hcps.net. So, and if it's not, they really should contact their teacher, the school, because they can help them get logged in.
Yeah.
I believe that's how they log into Canvas. Canvas is with that particular email address.
Yep.
Thank you for that. All right, and I think that was the last question. Awesome, awesome session today. We learned so much about Khan Academy and PSAT and SAT and woo, just concordance scores and all of that is a wealth of information. And so parents, we did record this. And so if you want, again, if you want to view it, the YouTube page is there. You subscribe to the channel, and when this is uploaded, you'll be able to see it and share it with your family members. Share it so that your family, your friends, they all can learn about this. We want to build the capacity so that our students or your child, we're working in partnership with you to help your child be successful, because we want the names of the students coming out of Hillsborough County to be great all over the world. And the only way we can do that is together with you. So thank you for being with us. Are there any last words that you all have to say, Kiana or Sharon?
Just thank you, Angela. Thank you for the opportunity. I know we kind of chatted prior to the audience joining us, but we are definitely here for this every time we have an opportunity to share with our families what it is that we do here in accelerated programs. We will take advantage of it. So thank you, families, for joining us today. Please don't hesitate to reach out. You got our names. We're Kiana Lane and Sharon Alonzo with Accelerated Programs. If you have any questions that relate to any of the programs that we support, please don't hesitate to send us an email or give us a call.
All right. So hi, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.